Welcome to the Solely Inside Conversations, an attempt from me to explain an ongoing experience I've spent years trying to put to words. This is that story. Jenny, thank you so much for taking the time again to explore these subjects with me. We've spoken a little bit in private, offline, about what all of this context is. Now, we're going to try and keep these blocks here like short 10, 15-minute blocks. That way we can digest the information and it'd be easy to basically put it out there as well. So today, looking at the time, I will talk no more about that. Today, I'm going to break into three different subjects. The first one will be the feet as things start. And I'm going to try and talk in as much detail, but give kind of examples to try and get our heads around it. A second is going to be the head, what happens during a session, but also that's not limited to a session. And the third is the kind of icing on the cake, what happens during the build-up and the build-up itself. And almost like with the top-ups, which I'll try and explain. Okay, so every session with Crichton is completely different, yet so many similarities. It often starts with the ball of the feet or the base of the foot, and almost just like a tentacle, kind of at different locations. Now, once that's going on, and it can start on both feet or just one foot, and it often likes the right foot because that's where it does a lot of the ankle work. But then while that's going on, you start to feel kind of almost like being brushed up against and almost like pressure around the foot itself as that's going on. So that can be like a single pressure or a single pressure and that and that and that. And so it starts to build on the feet itself. Now, if it's happening with both feet, they can be separate or they can be in unison, which does different things to the energy. So as this is going on, I become really hyper aware. So what I mean by that is I start to feel the energy outside of my body in ways that feels like it's actually manipulating my body. So if I'm in the middle of the session and my feet are in unison and sometimes it just like waves back and forth, it feels like my foot's about that long. And then sometimes I can feel even the pressurized points. Sometimes I can feel that on the outside of the energy as well, like it's my foot, but I can separate the two. Generally at the start of the session, towards the end, it gets a lot more difficult because you become just one with it. So all that's going on, it's creating energy input into my upper body, which I will get to at the last part. So as energy is hyperextended, if it's doing some trauma work, for instance, what it will do is it will basically pull the energy out to a point where, you can feel it just extend, and then kind of fold it back in and then kind of seal it. It's really interesting. And so you've got like all of these things going on. We'll just say both feet, for instance. And you're trying to keep on top of everything. Like you're trying to go, okay, that's a new sensation. What's that doing? And you can often, so the feet and the head is where the most activity happens, definitely in the build-ups. So as that's going on, like you're keeping on top of everything, and so it can be pressing into the joint of the ankle. So I know what the inside of my joint feels like because I can almost feel what it's doing, almost what it's saying. Like it's really, so it's that level of connectivity with the energy as it's coming in. So you can have this kind of soft area kind of massaging. You can have the kind of black fingers, sometimes like really small fingers, sometimes like a palm up against the ball of your foot. While all this is going on both feet, it can take away pain and input pain as well. So in a session, it'll start working on my right ankle. All of a sudden, the ache that's normally meant to be there comes back instantly, and yet it needs that. I've got a feeling it needs that exposure to do different things because there's certain parts of my foot. if it knows it's going to hurt me, it'll make sometimes my entire leg vibrate numb. Sometimes just below the knee, vibrate numb. If it knows it's going to hurt me, and sometimes if it's going into my joint as well, and I'm going to experience pain, my entire leg will go numb. So I know it's working on something. I know it's doing something, but I can't feel it like that. That block of that visualization thing there, and your leg just starts doing this. And it's removing blockages, which we'll talk about in a future session. Okay, to the head. Cliche statements here: third eye, crown chakra. We've spoken briefly about the lines down my head. Now, this is where as things come alive, I will just call it that. That space, the third eye space, but extending out, almost becomes like a liquid feeling. That it is just kind of, almost like a veil. But that's what it feels like, especially in the early years. This has been happening 3 years, 5 months now. What felt like a crown of thorns, no doubt, like energy, like almost piercing out of my crown and falling back onto my face. That pain is no longer there anymore. But I can feel the crown engage, and then almost like it's spilling the light back onto the face. While the third eye feels alive and liquidy. So while that's going on, and this is at the same time as the feet, or at the very start, what I call stardust kind of falls onto the face, sometimes in the eye, like you're going, falls onto the face and just starts to move. I move a little bit, but kind of that stops after like a life cycle of somewhere. And it starts to create a mask, like a mask of light on your face. So you've got this intensity of energy, which literally etched lines into my skull. And this intensity limited to here. And that feels like I'm wearing some sort of a crown, like physical crown, and then covering down here. Like it feels that physical. And it's building and it's building and it's building. And stardust is falling on the face. And so you're trying to become aware of this as well, whilst thinking about the feet, and you become really good at multitasking when it comes to thought. So while that's going on, and this happened from the very first night of introduction, is in the intense first session, which I'm sure I'll spend a chapter on, physical entity bed drilled into my ear and almost like cleaned the inside of my eardrum. And I felt like a laser, like this is what it felt like. It wasn't hot, but it felt like, and so I remember like it touching my eardrum, almost like cleaning it. And since then, whenever any of this is engaged, I feel almost like a tentacle or like a little snake of energy from my eardrum, alive on my face, just doing this all the time. Like that, I can become really good at being out in public, and all this is going on and being normal with it all. Deep into a session, another one will basically form over here, and so on both sides you'll have this activity while stardust, while all this is,
as well as your feet as well, and your stardust.
Yeah. And there's another thing called a snowflake, which I'm more of like a special events kind of chapter, because that is a lot of intense charge, which I'm going to start to talk about now. So as all this is going on, the energy builds into the leg and generally up into the pelvis, like into like the taint or like the crotch area, and up there becomes almost like a tingly charged energy, almost like it's trying to get in. But then what that's doing like around as well, if the legs are doing this, the center in between the legs becomes this intense charged energy, which basically crawls up in the skin or the bottom of this, like underneath, into the body, and basically charges your root chakra. So what can happen there, and there's different circumstances here, is that charge will be released up the sides, almost just like pushing, just are going further and further as the charge that's being introduced by the feet is basically pushing up the leg like a dense energy, like a charged energy, and starts to almost like, you know, how you have that imagery of circulation, or that kind of veins kind of breaking out. It feels like that, like an electrical form of that. Push and push and push up to here. Once it's about here, or sometimes here, it'll start to go across the chest, and just like almost like creepy crawly electricity, creepy crawly. And that can be on one side, or that can be on both. That can start from the legs, or it can start from here. On a very few occasions, there's been something that's happened, and it started from the center of the back and went straight up the spine. So while all this is building and building and building, and this feels really interestingly fantastic. Now, the hard thing about calling this the key thing about calling this a meditation is you can't be in a place like a headspace to try and predict what's going to happen next. You just have to let it go and just be comfortable, even if it hurts sometimes, like a sting here or a sting there. But when all this is going on, every one of your muscles at a different time will almost like bubble, like energy will come out of it, almost like a puff, and so like a micro flex in the muscle. And so it'll happen over here. My hands are always here, never touching. And sometimes I feel like they're holding each other's hands. Sometimes I feel like they're by my side, but they're always in the same spot. And so you've got this electricity that is going on, but it's building and it's building and it's building. So even from the start, you've got these little micro flexes of muscles all over your body at different times. And sometimes those micro flexes can become big flexes. So there's a giant surge of energy going through a part of your body, generally one of the chakras, and that'll make you move. Like even in the build-ups, like you'll get like a shock, like electric shock to a part of your body, maybe your hips, and then the legs will just basically go up in unison, or the arms will, or like one arm will do that, and I go back to the same spot. And it's from these charges that are surging through your body at different spontaneous times. But when you go to that euphoric buzzing, everything, you can feel every atom in your body, which is just filled of like electric charge of light. That'll generally happen with either one side or one of the chakras, and that'll just make you start to buzz in a way that it is just surreal. And depending on the length of the session, that will generally come from the same spot or like one of the chakras, and it'll just basically top up that charging energy. There was one very little thing that I'm going to bring into play, and that's what I call the crab or the blob. That's a charged piece of energy, varying in size, that you can feel the weight on your body, and it'll crawl across. And you can just feel the entire, and it doesn't happen much these days, but I felt it yesterday, which is the way I thought about it. Not to double back, the last thing I'll bring into play is the crown chakra, and that is, sometimes it feels like it wraps energy around, almost like a snake sitting on your head, and then once that's the point, when you move your head, it feels like you're moving like a tower of energy above your head. I've had that since early days, but lately it's just been, you can feel it layer itself on, and then it just, all this feels weighted now and different. And I think that's all we got time for.
Right, that's very interesting. So just one question, what would we see if we were watching one of these sessions? If I was in the room with you while it was happening, would we see anything?
Great question. Because I can be lying on the lounge watching something on TV at night, and I can feel it working on my ankle. Now, normally my eyes are closed during these sessions, and I'll always finish by going, I'm going to open my eyes now. I don't know why, it's just become a thing. But so I'm looking at my ankle and I can see nothing, and I can feel it physically in my ankle. But when I kind of glance away or look around the space of the ankle, that's when I see flickers of light. I got a dart here and things like that. There's another thing I call the butterfly, which I'll get into another day, but it's almost like you can see these little flickers of light around the ankle. And also, if I'm going for a walk at night and my third eye is engaged and crown chakra is engaged, and if I'm in a spot with no light, it looks like to my vision that I've got like a headlamp on. It's like in a short distance, but all of this is. And so when I'm in a meeting at work and all this is going on, I can see the energy from my third eye and head basically peel over into my vision. So I think the energy needs to be blurred or darkened. I have to see it because I've looked in the mirror multiple times whilst feeling stuff and going, that's maybe a blurred vision, maybe look slightly away from me. The lighting, I think, would be important as well. But yeah, that would be my best answer. And I've got better at seeing it.
So would your feet or your hands be moving while they were feeling massaged and electrified?
Really good question. The micro flexors in the muscles of the foot, you can see move. So there's a range of things going on, but you can see the little flexors of the muscle. That's for another time. The other thing I'm going to say to that is, so generally no, but it's learned how to get energy out of my foot by cramping my toes down. And sometimes I'll have two toes that just need to cramp, and it's no longer painful. It's just a case of just let it do what it's due. Like I've had friends around, they go, "Why, why are you doing that with your foot?" I'm like, I'm not.
You've done it with other people around.
It's just started doing that cramp thing, and so they mentioned it. I've just been lying on the lounge with them watching a movie, and so energy with Crichton's been working on my foot, and so that's happened in front of.
Just one other question I was thinking: how does it stop? Do you stop it, or does it stop itself?
I've done 3 2.5-hour sessions because after then I started to get a little bit, I should be doing something else here. I generally set an alarm clock and I most of the time go over it. Like an average session is about hour 15 to an hour 30. And so, I fall asleep at night.
Okay.
And sometimes wake up to stuff going on, but it's gotten to a point where I can hear a creak in the cupboard and I'll just smile because I know I'm about to have a surge of energy run through my body.
Okay, well, thank you for that.
So I generally stop it with the words of, I'm going to open my eyes now. And there's been 2 occasions where I've been able to see and interact with the energy because the light has been that dim. That's what I say. And so 2 occasions, it's almost like the world hasn't gone back to normal from the start. It's allowed me to see what's happening. Because I can see the flickers better when it's slightly dimmer.
Okay, well, thank you. That was interesting.
Thank you again for your time, and I look forward to the next round.
My pleasure.